Evening, welcome to the Winthrop Town Council meeting. It's February 17th, 2026. It's 6:30. We are in the Harvey hearing room. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilor Costigan.
Here.
Councilor Castaneri.
Here.
Councilor Malab.
Here.
Councilor Reardon.
Here.
Councilor Dimes. Present. Councilor Romano.
Here.
Vice President Swope. Yes. President Lettieri.
Here.
Thank you.
Seeing a quorum, the meeting is in order. Please stand for the pledge, led by Councilor Romano.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes have been circulated for the February 3rd meeting. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilor Dimes, second by Councilor Castaneri. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. General information recommendations. Cited, so this is speak. This is a state of the town address. This is a yearly address. So good evening. And it says something about the kind of winter we're experiencing when an overcast 38 degree day feels like a welcome reprieve. As we know, the weather is beyond our control. In some respects, our town can feel similar. It is discussed, debated, praised, and at times criticized. It is tested by challenges both expected and unforeseen. Yet through it all, we consistently come together. We support one another, we assist our neighbors, and in doing so, we strengthen the bonds that define our community. While no metaphor is perfect, this one speaks to an enduring truth about who we are. One of the responsibilities and truly one of the privileges granted by the town charter is for the council president to deliver an annual State of the Town address. This occasion provides an opportunity to reflect on our current standing, recognize the progresses we have made, acknowledge the challenges that remain, and look ahead with clarity, purpose, and a shared commitment to continue progress. This is my fifth opportunity to stand, or in this case sit, before you in this capacity, and I do not take that responsibility lightly. I am sincerely grateful for the trust you have placed in me, and for the privilege of serving a community that means so much to all of us. No State of the Town address would be complete without first expressing my sincere appreciation to our department heads, their dedicated staff, and the many members of our boards and committees. The effective operation of our town depends on their professionalism, expertise, and daily commitment to public service. They ensure our safety and well-being, educate our children and grandchildren, maintain clean and welcoming public spaces, provide vibrant parks and recreational opportunities, and preserve and improve our infrastructure and streetscapes. In short, their work sustains the quality of life that makes our community one we are proud to call home. The state of our town is good. That does not mean perfect. It does not mean it's without challenges. But it does mean we are stable, responsible, and moving forward. Like every municipality in the Commonwealth, Winthrop faces a wide range of daily issues, many of which are discussed regularly on social media, in coffee shops, and around kitchen tables. It is natural to focus most closely on the issues that affect us personally. Yet even though we are small in landmass, the scope of what we manage as a community is substantial, and I believe we are doing a very good job at it. State aid continues to be a lifeline for cities and towns. Nationwide, municipalities receive approximately 31% of their revenue from state aid. In Massachusetts, that figure is closer to 26% and dropping. We must therefore rely heavily on sound local fiscal management. At the same time, we are facing continuing cost pressures. Health insurance costs have increased more than 22% over the past 2 years, and the projections for fiscal '27 indicate an additional 7 to 9% increase. Because of conservative and disciplined budgeting, we have been able to absorb those pressures while continuing to invest in our priorities. Recently, the Finance Subcommittee discussed the distribution of free cash. As many of you know, the term is somewhat misleading. It is neither truly free nor simply cash. It is the result of responsible financial management and careful forecasting. Through structured financial policies, we use these funds to straighten our stabilization accounts. Our stabilization accounts, capital, general, building, and most recently education, position us for long-term success. The bench towns many municipalities strive for is approximately 10% of operating budget in stabilization. We have made remarkable progress to reach that goal. This financial strength has helped us maintain an excellent bond rating, saving taxpayers millions of dollars when we borrow for major projects, such as the new fire station. That is not luck, that is discipline. As I reviewed the past State of the Town addresses, I noticed certain projects that have been consistent topics of discussion. The difference today is that most of them are now well-defined and actively progressing. The middle school site, the new fire station, infrastructure improvements on Tileston, Girdlestone, and Pico, Revere Street tip projects. Each of these required extensive planning, coordination, and perseverance. While they're in different phases of development, they are all moving forward. In addition to the new fire station, I am still hopeful we will see meaningful improvements to the Eruzione Center. Upgrades will be made to the rink and gym and make them cleaner, safer, more aesthetically welcoming for residents of all ages. I also continue to advocate for a community arts center as a potential future use of the Pauline Street Fire Station once the new fire station becomes operational. A space that could serve creativity, culture, and connection within our town. No issue has generated more discussion over the past several years than 3A. Last year, we were one of 34 communities not in compliance when I made the State of the Town address. Today, we are one of 10. That reflects serious efforts and continued engagement. We remain committed to identifying a solution that works best for Winthrop, one that satisfies the state requirements one way or another while preserving what makes our town special. Our goal is to present new information in the near future that will move us forward constructively. 3A will not ultimately define us. It will not ultimately divide us. We are far more effective working together than apart. To ensure residents remained informed and engaged on this topic and others, I will be holding bi-monthly office hours focused on respectful dialogue and transparency. Even when we disagree, we must do so thoughtfully and constructively. Winthrop is a special place to all of us. And the world has changed in many ways, but I hope we never lose the values that define us. Respect for one another, civic pride, and the understanding that the goal is not individual victory, but community achievement. We are fortunate in many ways, yet often, way too often, we focus on what divides us rather than unites us. We look at the glass half empty instead of half full. We focus on what might go wrong instead of what likely will go right. Life is too short to be consumed by negativity. Let's work together, let's support one another. Let's keep Winthrop the jewel that it is and the place we proudly choose to live, to raise our families, and build our future. Thank you, and God bless our great town. So that thank you. And now we have 3 public hearings, which will all maybe be more interesting. I will open a public hearing for the town council to appropriate retained earnings in the Ferry Enterprise Fund of $20,000 to cover the cost of potential cost with fiscal 26. Councilor Tassinari.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on this motion. I will read it now out loud if you don't mind. You want to waive the
Well, you could read it now, then we'll waive it when we vote on it in old business. You can read it now.
Sure. This is for the ferry. Oh, there you go, I got the wrong ones. This is a motion from the town manager submitted February 3rd, 2026. I move the town council appropriate retained earnings in the ferry enterprise fund in the amount of $20,000 to cover the cost that the fund will incur in FY26. Currently, these expenses include insurance. The finance office will apply the funds to the various accounts where expenses are incurred or take any other action thereto. These funds are coming from the ferry's retained earnings account and being applied across various ferry expense accounts. The amount is $20,000. The remainder of the retained earnings after motion approval is $112,837.
Okay, so this was discussed in the finance subcommittee. It has positive recommendation, which we'll go over in old business. And this is to, the ferry enterprise fund exists, and it exists only for retained earnings at this point. And the only bill it really has coming in that we know of is the insurance. And the insurance is slightly less than the $20,000, but just in case, so we didn't have, if there were any surprises that we were billed for before June 30th, we would not have to come back. If whatever remainder of that money is not used after the insurance payment, it will revert back to the retained earnings of the enterprise fund itself. Is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard as a proponent of this? Anyone as an opponent? Anyone on the council? We'll close that public hearing. Second public hearing, we will open to appropriate retained earnings in the Rink Enterprise Fund of $20,000 for extraordinary repairs. Councilor Tassinari.
Another motion submitted by Town Manager Marino, February 3rd, 2026. I move the town council appropriate from retained earnings in the Rink Enterprise Fund the amount of $20,000 for extraordinary repairs and maintenance of the mechanical equipment at the ice rink or take any other action thereto. We're appropriating funds from the rink's retained earnings account to the rink's repair and maintenance of infrastructure. The remaining balance of the retained earnings of the rink will be $147,217. This is another one, Mr. President, that came out of the Finance Committee with a positive recommendation.
Okay, and this was an extraordinary repair to, I believe, one of the compressors. This is not something that was expected. At the end of the year, when the rink comes out with extra money other than that line, it will be replenished in the retained earnings. This is a repair that has already happened. Anybody would like to speak as a opponent of that in the audience? Rob.
Rob DeMarco, Precinct 6, 100% in favor.
Thank you. Anybody as an opponent to it? Any councilors? Council Vice President Swope.
It's a question,
Yeah.
not in opposition to it. I just wanna know, given the rink, what is your expected expenses overall to the rink versus the money that we bring in? Is this okay? I mean, are we balanced on that, or?
We have a balanced budget for the rink every year, yeah, we have to show the council and the finance committee revenues and expenses, and we balance the budget every year. And there is a line item in there for repairs. This was just something that was unexpected because the whole compressor went, we don't normally anticipate
So in the
that.
end, though, this will balance it out?
Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will close that public hearing. We will open another public hearing to appropriate certified free cash. Councilor Tassinari, you don't have to go through the whole motion here because it's long and cumbersome and we're gonna go over it in old business, but I would guess just give a brief overview as to what the recommendations were from the subcommittee.
The recommendation from the subcommittee came back as favorable recommendation for the town manager's motion to the council. And he's motioning that we allocate, in terms of the existing policy, to the general stabilization fund, the capital stabilization fund, the building stabilization fund, and the education stabilization funds, the appropriate amounts of the $2.5 million in free cash after the 10% set aside. At the end of those allocations, which will increase all of our stabilization accounts, and it will put the building stabilization account at the fully $300,000 cap. There'll be about $500,000 left over of free cash that will await further appropriation if needed by the council before the end of this fiscal year.
And we'll go, excuse me, we'll go over it more in old business, but basically, whatever free cash is certified by the state, we take 10% of that, we set that aside. And then we break up the remaining 80% of what's remaining into stabilization accounts, and then 20% of that is left to be used as necessary. If not, it will revert back to free cash this November. For example, a major use of free cash this winter will probably be snow and ice. It will be a way for us to level that account off. There's only 2 accounts in the town that you can budget knowing that you're not going to make that budget, snow and ice being one of them, Veterans Affairs, I believe is the other one. So this will give us the ability to make that account whole, as well as build our stabilization funds and such. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this,
Mark Center, precinct 2. My question is, I know you mentioned one has a cap on it. Do all our stabilization funds have caps?
No, building stabilization has a cap because it was mainly started just to make repairs, unforeseen repairs, like a roofing repair, something like that. So we didn't think it would ever, get crazy that you would have to make repairs. The other ones don't. And as I mentioned, the capital especially is so important when you're looking at bond ratings and such. But no, there's no cap on any of the other ones.
And the reason being?
The reason being is you want to build your reserves. There's nothing that says you can always change financial policies. Like we didn't have a financial policy until about 12 years ago. And now we've refined it twice over the last 6 that we're trying to save more money. I mean, you could get to the point where you might be saying like you have an abundance of stabilization. I don't know if we would ever get there, but at that point you could always change the financial policy. The financial policy is something that can be changed within the council at any time. Anyone like to speak in favor of?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just as a additional comment to that is the council can and will appropriate from these stabilization funds when the need arises. I think we appropriated from the capital stabilization fund once last year.
Yes, and the capital statement, when you're looking at the budget and the capital plan, you'll see different areas as to where that money is coming from, and they'll be alphabetized, and it might be a capital stabilization account or a general stabilization account. So there is times every year that money is used in some way, shape, or form to help with a potential capital project. But you try not to use, the goal is not to use stabilization money for ongoing expenses. It should be, a repair, a vehicle purchase, sander, something like that. Anyone else like to speak either way? All right, Councilor.
I'd like to make a motion that we take this out of order for the vote for new business.
This is just gonna be more involved, I think. I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but I think it's good to further explain it in more detail than we can right now. Alright, hopefully we'll get to new business. Seeing no other comment, we'll close that public hearing and we will open up public comment. Public speak, 3-minute limit, and Mr. DeMarco, former councilor.
Rob DeMarco, precinct 6. I just want to show support for everybody on the council. I know that social media can get a little nasty sometimes. So, you vote your conscience and that's it. So don't worry what anybody says about you. You all have my support 100%. As far as precinct 6 goes, we've had, I was told 4 now, but at least 3 members that have put up. We have so many non-contested elections, so I'm actually genuinely happy that we've had so many people step up for precinct 6. And all 3 candidates that I know, I don't know the 4th one, but they are all genuinely great people, and they have stepped up. And the one thing I would ask is whoever does not get appointed to the position, gets nominated to a committee, because we need these kind of people in our town. Thank you.
Mr. Dodd.
Jack Dowd, Precinct 4. A few points. This comment is directed to Councilor Millar. I find Councilor Millar to be incredible. I told him so myself, in person, to his face. I'm just speaking for myself, and I say, I will not believe another word this person says in this room until he's not in this room anymore. Changed his mind. He ran on the premise that he was going to vote yes for the exemption, and then he changed his mind. So, as far as I'm concerned, he's incredible. As far as the conversations with Mass Board, Councilor Tazzaneri was the chair of a committee to make an agreement with Mass Board. He held one public meeting. The agreement may be as much as $20 million over a number of years. This agreement can make or break the town of Winthrop. This agreement is the most important agreement in the history of the town. It involves millions and millions of dollars. It could be any amount. Choose your amount. I suggested to Councilor Tazzaneri at the one meeting that he did have in public, he should put a request for proposals to negotiate such an agreement. So far, nothing. No answers. If there is a proposal, and I hope there is, accepted, and a candidate puts forth their credentials to be the person that negotiates, and that candidate explains his credentials, it qualifies him because he makes submarine sandwiches and drives an Uber. Would that person be a good choice to negotiate a $20 million negotiation with the money that this town is owed? Once again, I find Mr. Millar incredible. Incredible, the definition is impossible to believe. Thank you.
Celeste.
Celeste Rivera, Precinct 1. I guess what I'd like to first say is that I'd like to see less of the ad hominem attacks at our councilors' expense. I would submit what makes anybody qualified to negotiate on behalf of our town and the business of our town is an understanding of how the town operates, a distinct business acumen, someone who is tuned into how our government works, both at the town and state level. But again, just the attacks that happen meeting after meeting after meeting. I love to see any of you up there make a motion to kind of address that and cut them off at the knees. I would like to say, now being less flattering, I guess, a little bit more of a meaty update in our State of the Town address. I'd like to see a little bit more granular language of report. I know we talked about where we were in terms of numbers of people opposing 3A and engagement and submission, to language of how that has made us better. I think at the outset last year, at this time, we had a climate commission that was fully engaged, that had wrapped their arms around the issues in town, and we're beginning to put a number and a strategy in place. This year, we don't have that. So I'd really like to see from year to year and even a little bit more of a regular cadence where we are in terms of progress towards goals and needs and initiatives in town. But thank you. Thank you all for the work that you're doing, and thank you for doing so in the face of some of this stuff.
Sorry, I'll be quick. Erin Barcelos, Precinct 5. I just want to I'll be very quick. Thank Councilor Reardon. I had a conversation with him last town council about something on my street, and that night he drove down to see what I was talking about, and he even emailed me that night. So I just appreciate that, so thank you.
Thank you. All right. Correspondence. Committee reports. Councilor Tassinari?
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee met last Thursday. We had discussion on the 3 motions we just had public hearings on. They all came out with favorable recommendations. I thank the town manager for providing us the motions, the president for referring them to finance, and special thanks to Sarah Johnson, Robbie Powers, and Karen Chavez, who were present and helped us in that discussion. It's very much appreciated. They might not be online tonight, but please pass my thanks along to all of them, and thank you to Karen. Anything you want we'll cover these in old business?
Correct. You said that you met on 3 issues and had positive recommendations?
Positive recommendations, yes, on all 3 of these motions.
All right. Firehouse Building Committee is meeting
March 2nd.
March 2nd. Obviously, everybody could see the progress. The auditorium now is down along with the school. They're cleaning up the site. We were aware and are aware of, there's a hole in the fence basically, which has been fixed. It's been repaired. There's some issues with snow pushing down some of the fence, also on Waldemar. But anytime somebody sees something, please feel free to call me or Tony or whoever, any one of the councilors. We just want to make sure that site stays secure throughout this process. But I think they did really good work on that building. It's amazing how intricate it got, especially as they got close to the gymnasium and how they used different techniques. But I thank them for their work, and I'm sure we'll be more on it in the near future. Ordinance Review Committee, they have had their last meeting. We will have a report from them at the next meeting. School Department report, we had a school committee meeting last Monday. It was lengthy in terms of school committee meetings, but there was a lot of, there was probably 65 odd union members there to show their support for the union as we are in the midst of negotiations, and there was a lot of public comment from them and much appreciated from all the school committee members. Other than that, it was just regular business and talking about the snow and the issues that they had as well, and thank the DPW for their job and how it's not a thankful job because somebody can always find something, but the schools really appreciated the work that the DPW did to get the schools open with a limited amount of snow days. But and I'm sure the children are enjoying a good week vacation. So, yes.
Could I just add, I was hopefully that you all looked at the transcript and Carol Misha's response.
Yeah, but we can't go into that.
This is
is
always look at that
Yeah.
because it's part of the school committee negotiation.
Town manager's report has been circulated. Tony, if you'd like to give us a few bullets.
Yeah, no, you can sit on most of it, a lot of snow removal. I talked about fire station demo work. I'll sure you'll get into the 3A meeting. I did put some highlights in there.
You can talk a little bit about that now.
Yep. Oh, just, we had the 4 important questions I included in the report, just about what we talked about, trying to get some more clarification on the condo docs and impacts on those. The EOHLC's approval letters that they send out to districts. I know the last couple of bullets, it seemed some people inquired that it looked like they could just change the rules and change our approval status at any given time. We discussed that, how maybe they could put some clarifying language along that, because they insisted that that's not what it means. Talked about if we ever got to a ballot question in town, what that would look like, and if we could put conditions on it, say we still, retain our rights to oppose 3A, but if we had a district in front of us, we still retain those rights. But Margaret Hurley from the AG's office said she'd have to work with our town attorney and obviously the elections office to any sort of ballot questions that would come forward. And then we lastly talked about the lawsuit. Basically, one of the concerns and questions always was if play it out 2 years and we lose the lawsuit and we get forced to put a district in here, can we at least try to have the district that we want so it has minimal impact on Winthrop? And the indication we got was that, they'd work with us on that. It didn't seem like they would try to jam a district down to say, all right, well, you lost, now you gotta put units here, here, and here. So it looked like, that was a pretty favorable response. And then I got into discussion about withholding of grants, and, President Lettieri and Senator Edwards and others did a good job of, pushing for the fact that we're not appreciating the fact that we're getting grants taken away from us other than the 4 that are listed in the regulations. And they went on to let President Lettieri certainly make his point, especially the 21st century grants, I think, for the schools and the tree grant and others that can't apply for.
I'll open it up for a few questions, but before, and I'm not sure if I saw this in the report or not, but just an update on Massport negotiations. Those negotiations, we have said several times, they're not involved any subcommittee on the council. There was not one councilor specifically involved in any negotiations. We have hired a consultant. We are working with the consultant. We've said that several times over the past 6 months. We have had 1 or 2 meetings, and we have a meeting scheduled probably in early March.
Yeah, we have a date.
So we will provide updates with that as they become available. Questions, Vice President Swope?
Thank you, Town Manager. I just generally, I just got a couple of calls from constituents. I'm wondering if we could have some kind of maybe a schedule of, here's what we listed as a problem and what happened to it, and what's the resolution. It doesn't, because I'm losing some track of what we've already discussed in our in our missions, in our meetings. So for example, we had an issue about trees. We had an issue about the tree that was half on the property, the public property, and half on private property.
Yep.
So what happened to that? So my point is, it's not just that one. It's all the things that continue to be presented in the town. And so if we could keep track of that in some kind of public way, I think that would be helpful, because I lose track too of what happened a year ago, and I don't know what the resolution was. So I would like you to take that into consideration. Secondly, I heard what you said, but I'm not sure I understood everything that's going on meetings that you had. So where are we on those meetings? I take it from the minutes that they're going to take everything you all said in consideration, and that's where we are?
And get back to us. Yeah, we're waiting for that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
in
I was gonna let Councilor Terry
This is what you could
elaborate,
weigh in there as well, but we could talk about it a little bit here too if you want.
Yeah, we're just, they didn't give us any direct answers during that meeting. They said they were gonna talk with their internal stakeholders,
What are you
their
talking
legal
about?
counsel, and get back to us. Sorry, I'm not listening back to us.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
The 3A, the meeting we had with the EOHLC and the
Thank you.
Attorney General. That was the topic that was brought up. So yeah, we're waiting for answers from them. They were gonna talk internally and then talk to their legal counsel and get back to us, answers to those specific requests we made.
Thank you.
Councilor Tassinari and then Councilor Malone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Manager Marino. Just a quick question on the FY27 budget. As you start preparing those books, we had a suggestion from Karen Chavez that we include the retained earnings balances in those budget books that you provide. I know,
Sure, I think, yeah, we can do that with the
Just like a
enterprise
summary?
funds. Yep.
but we do wanna say, I know Sarah Johnson explained this, and might have been Robbie Powers, but we understand, and we should probably put a note on that page that says, the funding is available until the close of the fiscal year.
Right.
This year, and then it won't be available again until
Until we get certified.
recertification of the free cash. But it is something that we'd like to see on the finance committee, we'd like to see it as councils in our council budget books. And I know that the citizens advisory committee would like to see that in the budget, so if you don't mind. Thank you very
Yep,
much.
we'll include it with the enterprise funds.
Councilor Millar.
I've been asked quite a few many times about the blue lights, and
Still on.
and still on. I understand that, staffing and the amount of work that has gone on is pretty.
It's not even staffing, it's the amount of work that
The
needs to be
amount
done.
of work that goes behind it. And I know budget wise, it's kind of a tight budget for it too. I think one of the main questions was how did some areas get prioritized over others? So if maybe just a high level, this is where we started because business, this is because of truck route. And I know there's still areas that you're still working on trying to clear out. And I know it does take time,
So,
so.
is it okay to answer?
Is it yes, sorry.
So, just to kind of bring it in, so there's just over 150 streets in town. So far, we've done 95 of them as of this afternoon. Prioritization was first schools, obviously town hall, public buildings, business districts, and then just the narrowest roads. We're not thinking convenience, we're not thinking, oh, we know somebody on this street, we're thinking getting fire apparatus to homes, getting police to homes, and where the problem areas are. It's 20 years of me doing the job is how I prioritize the areas that are problematic. That's where we're at. We're gonna complete the snow removal efforts. We're gonna turn the lights back on, turn the lights back off as of 4 o'clock on Friday. That's the goal. So we have 4 more days of snow removal efforts. We'll continue snow removal after that. But the reason we kept the blue lights on, in addition to not being making sure that we can get all safety apparatus everywhere, is when we go to a road, like tomorrow morning, we show up. The parking ban is still in effect. So those cars have to move if they're illegally parked on the roadways. Otherwise, they don't. And we can't, trying to work around vehicles with tractor trailers, trying to navigate tractor trailers, through these tight roads, it's a difficult task. So, so far, like I said, 95 streets have been done, approximately 90 cubic yards per road on average. That's close to 10,000 cubic yards of snow that we've hauled out to our different snow farms throughout the town. We have 4 of them currently. So, prioritization again is just knowing where the trouble areas are and trying to make sure that businesses are able to function, making sure that the town buildings and departments are able to function, schools are able to function, and that's how we went at it.
No, we appreciate the work that the DPW has done on that.
And again, the blue light remains on, however, if the streets are curb to curb, there are a list of streets that are off the bin.
And those streets are being updated daily.
Daily, they're on the town website. Councilor Romano.
Yes, I know that you mentioned a little that you talked about loss of grant money. Did you also talk about the earmarked money for the fire station, that $2 million? Was that brought up?
It's not their call, we did bring out that we applied for it, but it's certainly not the OHLC's decision.
So that is nothing, that's no relation to the 3A.
It shouldn't, but I'm not saying it won't, it technically shouldn't have any relation to 3A, but ultimately the governor's office decides that, so we'll see what happens.
Councilor Costa. I'm looking at one end of the table. Councilor Dimes.
Thank you, President Lettieri and Town Manager Marino. I just have a couple comments. Thank you to the Northeast Mosquito Control for all the work and for the DPW department for hauling off the debris from the dredging. I look forward to seeing that, the results from that in the Fisherman's Bend resource area. I think it's gonna be remarkable and definitely make a difference in the flooding down there. And I just had, thank you for the rehab of the hole in the fence at the Pauline Street side of the fire of the middle school demo. They did a great job buttoning that up. Thank you.
Alright. Old business. Town council appropriate retained earnings in the Ferry Enterprise Fund of $20,000. Councilor Tassinari.
I've read the motion already, I can read it again unless someone wants to.
Waive it.
Is there a motion to waive the reading for a second
Second.
time? Second by Councilor Romano. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. There's a motion coming out of finance with positive recommendation to appropriate retained earnings in the ferry in the amount of $20,000 to cover costs incidental to the 2026 fiscal budget. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Council Costigan,
Yes.
Council Tassinari,
Yes.
Councilor Malab,
Yes.
Council Reardon,
Yes.
Council Dimes,
Yes.
Council Romano,
Yes.
Vice President Swope,
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes, motion is passed. Town council appropriate retained earnings in the Rink Enterprise Fund of $20,000. Councilor Tassinari.
Another one that came out with a favorable recommendation from the finance committee last week. I've read the motion already, if anyone wants to make a motion.
There's a motion
Motion
to
to
waive the
waive.
reading, there's a second, all those, any discussion on the motion? Yes,
Councilor Tassinari, I take it that the rink actually pays for itself in the end. Is that true?
As far as we can see,
every enterprise
In
fund
the budget.
is self-funded, but there are a couple of enterprise funds that receive an appropriation from the town. Enterprise funds also pay a shared cost from the town, which has changed indirect cost over the last several years, which has gone up pretty dramatically, but with purpose. But yes, the rink is a rink, well, obviously, water and sewer, recreation, they're all supposedly self-contained funds. For example, Parks and Rec, years ago, we used to get a $100,000 appropriation from the town. And back in 2008, when times was really tough, we told them we couldn't do that anymore, they had to survive on their own, so they did for a number of years. And now they are one, and I think the rink is another, that gets a $25,000 appropriation, $30,000 appropriation.
So just to make sure.
however, I would just say though, the town owns the rink, so if there were ever to be some kind of larger expense that would not be covered by their own retained revenue or by the rink's enterprise fund, the town would be responsible to make those repairs.
Ultimately responsible for any enterprise fund.
Okay, so essentially though, this year, we've paid $25,000 for the rink. Is that
As
what?
part of the budget appropriation, this
That's
money is
right.
not coming from the town, this is coming from the rink's retained earnings.
Okay, so
So it's
we
kind of
have-
like the rink's free cash, if you
Okay,
want.
so we have not paid anything for the
No.
rink from the town this year.
No, that's not.
Well, in several years,
Several
several years. And
But if
the rink
indeed-
just finished paying, the rink had a redo back about 15 years ago, it cost $1.5 million, and the rink paid that bond back yearly. The town does not pay that back, enterprise funds cover their expenses, if they don't, then they're really not insured.
And so if indeed something happens, as Councilor Tassinari mentioned, we would be responsible for covering it, but we have not in the past done that because they have paid. It has been self-sufficient.
Correct. They have, in other years, like other funds, gone into retained earnings to settle their expenses until the year ends, and then they recoup them, because they just can't go from line to line. It's not like a school budget where they can just, it's just a bottom line budget.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Council Costigan,
Yes.
Council Tassinari,
Yes.
Council Malab,
Yes.
Council Reardon,
Yes.
Council Dimes,
Yes.
Council Romano,
Yes.
Vice President Swope,
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes, motion passed. Town council vote to appropriate free cash, Councilor Tassinari.
Thank you, Mr. President. This also came out of the Finance Committee with a positive recommendation. It is to appropriate $2,004,141 of certified free cash across 4 stabilization funds. General stabilization fund would receive 30%, so $751,553, for an ending balance of $6,002,398. Capital stabilization would receive 37%, which is $926,915, plus the overage of the building stabilization fund of $186,327, for a total appropriation of $1,113,242, creating an ending balance in capital stabilization of $2,902,671. Building stabilization would receive $64,190 to reach its cap of $300,000 in the ending balance. The education stabilization fund would receive its 3% of $75,155 for an ending balance of $1,580,144. The ending free cash, including the initial 10% set aside, will be $779,388 to be available for further appropriation later this fiscal year by the town council. We all, I believe everybody on the council received from Sarah Johnson the calculation of the free cash policy. If anyone did not receive it, please let me know or let the town manager know. We can forward that over to you. It's in the minutes from the finance committee meeting.
Motions we made came out of finance with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Discussion on free cash. Motion.
You said, I'm sorry. Yeah, just, could you
Vice
send me?
President Swope.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, Councilor Tessner, can you send me that report and make sure I have
The minutes, yeah, sure.
Yes, thank you.
I think the clerk's posted them, but I can send them.
Thank
I
you.
can send them to the whole
Thanks so
council. Yeah.
Any others? Free cash is kind of a big deal, and it's it's a way to try to put money back to save for future needs, which there always is one. If the town manager just wants to explain, because the set aside is something, again, new in a policy over the past couple of years, where, we don't know year to year. We could have $5 in free cash. We went multiple years with no free cash. Back 15 or so years ago, 15, 11, 12 years ago. So there was no guarantee on free cash. So the set aside, my understanding is that if you have such a small, let's say you had $500,000 in free cash and 80% of it is accounted for, so that's $400,000, only leaves you at $100,000, might not even cover snow and ice. So having that 10% set aside before you start with stabilization funds gives you that little bit of leeway that's going to help with snow and ice, and this year that will be relatively significant. Just quickly, I'm not sure, I'm speaking out of turn here because I haven't really talked to Steve 100%, but that snowstorm that we had a couple of weeks ago and auxiliary costs from it is probably close to $150,000.
Closer to
300,000. The original storm maybe was 150-ish, and then just the cleanup and stuff. Yeah. So just to give you an idea, if it's a cold night and we just go out and do a sanding, it's close to $20,000. So that's one of the reasons why the set aside. I don't know if it's in.
Nope, yeah, just leave you that cushion, and also, in theory, it drops a little bit less when you put in the stabilization funds, like you said, so you have that cushion. You start doing your percentages after the set aside, so it ends up dropping the percentages that you drop in the other accounts. But you've got healthy balances in the account, so you're doing really well. And keep in mind, when I started here, free cash was 1.3, 1.4, my goal is to get it to 3 million. That's sort of a nice healthy number for a town this size. So we've got 2.7 this year, we're getting there, and that's through strict budgeting by the department heads, conservative on the receipts, so, because, we get free cash from overage on the receipts, so, we say we're gonna collect, 400,000 in building permits, so we collect 700,000. That additional money is what helps to go to certified free cash. And then also turnbacks, you try to turn back money in the budget, not use the whole budget, so we use a certified free cash, we have it for capital and fund these funds and, all the other things we need in town.
And just to give people an idea, I'm sure a lot of people know that the operating budget for the town is somewhere a little shy of 70 odd million, in the 66, 67 million range. And with enterprise funds, probably a little over 82 million. So it's a pretty substantial budget for a 1.6 square mile town. Council Tassinari, did you have a question?
No, I just actually wanted you, if you would like to, you made some really good comments at the finance committee meeting about the ending balances of these stabilization funds that were, I don't know if you wanna share that with the whole council, just a healthy picture of the stabilization funds.
Yeah, it is when, and I touched about it in the state of the town, but when you look at the balances, and again, people could look at it, I guess you could be in your house and say, wow, I have too much money in savings, I should go buy a car or something, but I don't know if we're not anywhere near too much money, but money could go really quickly. A project could cost $2, $3, $4 million in a blink of an eye, and but when you're looking at stabilization and you're looking at ending balances here and roughly 10.5 odd million with all the enterprise funds. And again, if you're looking at it backwards and you're looking at a $70 million budget, that's 13.5%, which is very good. Now, you hear different things from state and from bond companies if they're looking at total stabilization, if they're just looking at capital stabilization. Some people say, oh, it's 10% in capital, but I think money saved is money earned, and it's a really good policy. And these are just, to be more stringent and to take unneeded expenses out and to really look and legitimize every expense that we do. I think it's something, council could take a lot of hits and I'll take them with anybody, but this is a really good policy that we put in place and it's showing dividends. So thanks to the town manager and thanks to the department heads for working within their budget. And we do budget a little conservatively when it comes to building permits and such, because some of it is you just don't know. And now with just cost rising, sometimes it helps that the building permit is going to cost more because of the cost of materials. But
And keep in mind, these balances tie directly to your bond rating, which, as you know, during the last few years has gone up. We went from AA to AA plus. The next step is AAA, but we'll then need to pay down some of our OPEB liabilities before we hit that. But let's we're getting there.
all right,
Can we do a roll call?
yes, please.
Council Costigan,
Yes.
Council Tassinari,
Yes.
Council Millar,
Yes.
Council Reardon,
Yes.
Council Dimes,
Yes.
Council Romano,
Yes.
Vice President Swope,
Yes.
President Lettieri.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passed. Again, just a little discussion on the EOHLC meeting. We did meet, there was basically a summary of the transcript, the town manager just went over it. It was I think it was a very healthy meeting. We did not go in with preconceived notions that we were gonna walk out with everything we wanted right away and they were just gonna say yes, 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 but they were very receptive to everything we said. We brought up points that they said they had never heard before, and for example, when you're putting a plan out, you're getting a pre-approval from the state, and they'll come back and give you a pre-approval letter if it's pre-approved, and then at the end of that, there's basically a 2 or 3 sentence line that basically says, thank you very much, you're pre-approved, but we can change it at any time, is the way we took it. And a lot of communities have taken it, but nobody has said anything about it. What they tried to explain to us is that there have been several cities and towns that have passed a 3A plan and then have changed zonings. And they put this in so they can be aware, letting cities and towns know that they just have to notify them if there is a change in zoning, especially if it affects a district that they had used for 3A compliance. They had not looked at it the way we looked at it, but I will say even the senator, when she read it, said I could totally understand how the town could see that. And they said that they've sent out 156 compliance letters and not one city in town. And I said that's because we're special and we think a little bit more about it. But they were very cognizant of that and said that they would look So that was a good thing. We also asked a big question that has been asked a lot, is about condo docs and making sure that condo docs would supersede 3A, which, you know, they're very strict about not giving out legal advice. We are asking if they could clarify better in a different form. What they did do is on their frequently asked questions on their website, if you go to the HLC and look at 3A, I think number 13 on their frequently asked questions states that condo docs supersede 3A. So that was kind of their way of saying, we really are telling you the truth, but we're still trying to get more definitive language in that. We were very, you know, when I heard about, we said we're big boys and big women, and we understand that there were consequences, potential consequences of taking the actions that we did, but we felt very strongly about it and still do. However, when we start hearing about 21st century grants and public safety grants or public health grants, and I said I'm not here to tell the governor how to run an election, but it's an election year, and I don't think taking money away from kids in public safety and public health is going to do her any favors. We were very strong about that 21st century. Now, this is not part of the EOHLC. He wasn't even aware of it, the secretary. But I think they took those comments to heart, and because that's affecting, especially the 21st century grant is a grant that's given every 3 years. So, you know, it's one thing to lose whatever grant it is, they're all important, but there's one thing to lose a grant and say, well, we can apply next year. But 21st century, and they have 30 or 60 days to apply now, if they do not get that because of 3A, and that grant for them, for a 3-year period, could be upwards of $400,000 or a little bit more. That's substantial, and that's affecting kids in after-school programs and their ability to attend after-school programs, or them having the staffing to do that. That is not something that should be affected by zoning compliance. And the same with public health and public safety. You know, and we made our point crystal clear with that. And we talked about districts, and we talked about, you know, the secretary said to us, bring us 100 plans. We'll look at every one of them. If you want to bring us a different plan and look at it, we will look at it and give you an idea. So we took all their suggestions, and I'm hoping and I believe that they took ours. We will be meeting again. We don't have a scheduled meeting. We're still waiting to hear back from them. But we think it was a productive meeting. We told them, I mean, we acknowledged understanding of the lawsuit, and you know, and they understand that, you know, we're making attempts to talk with them. So, you know, we feel comfortable at this point with that. If anybody wants to add a quick thought, Vice President.
Yeah, I just wrote my desired requirements for acceptance of 3A. And I'm passing it out to anybody who wants to take a look at it. This is what I think, and you all, I know that you're talking with them. I'm hoping that it goes well, but this is my feeling about what I could accept in your negotiations. And thank you so much for reaching out.
Thank you. Precinct 6 update, we will be coming to a vote at our next meeting. Right now we have 4 candidates. A couple of them are here now, maybe 3 of them are here now. Marty Finn, Danny Floyd, Michael Gillespie, and Kevin Morales is the most recent. Still haven't had I haven't had a chance to meet with all of them, so I definitely want to do that. I'm not sure what everybody else has had the opportunity to or not, but we will definitely be taking that up on the agenda at our next meeting. Appointments. I have a couple appointments that I will be making, and I will just read the following appointments. The Town Council President is appointing Cheryl Howard to the Firehouse Reuse Committee with a term in force until such time as required. I am appointing Jamie Montesano to the Firehouse Reuse Committee in a term until it is expired and still it is required. And I am appointing Michael Gillespie to the Citizens Finance Advisory Committee with a term to end June 30th, 2029. Those appointments have been made. And if the town council wishes to challenge those appointments, they could go to the charter and follow the procedures there. New business, discuss March meeting dates. So we try to keep meetings every other week so we can inform the public, and as the end of March comes, it comes closer to the meat of budget season and getting into it. So I'm proposing that we suspend the council rules. The original meeting dates for March would be the 3rd and the 17th. If we do that, we'll be going 3 weeks at the end of March until the beginning of April. So I would like to entertain a motion to suspend council rules and change the meetings from the 3rd and 17th to the 10th and 24th. That will enable us to keep every other week. If there's a motion. Motion by Councilor Dimes.
Second.
Second by Councilor Millar. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Have it. That'll be on the town website. Made, public comment? Mr. Senator.
Mark Senate, precinct 2. Just kind of direct this at Steve, I don't know if it's possible or not, but being that we're coming up on the ending of the blue lights, can we post, I know you must have a list of prioritized streets, can you post probably the day before no parking on those streets that you want to address? Is that possible?
There is no parking lot.
Well, I understand that, but people are.
The compliance has been good when we're showing up on the roads.
Okay.
We have police,
Yeah.
but you know,
Okay.
and they move.
And
And the roads that haven't been cleared yet, you know, the parking, it's so obvious that you can't park because you're not gonna have a lane of travel,
I mean,
that they're really not parking on.
I understand that, I'm just, giving tenants a heads up the night before, so they, instead of just, you showing up at 7:30 to clear snow, if you say, hey, we're gonna do snow removal tomorrow, don't, just post no snow removal on a date, and that way you don't have to ask people. And
We're not asking people because there's no parking.
And this is just public comments.
Yeah, it's not
Right,
but
so
they- but
no
they
back
are.
and forth.
Anyway, that was just a suggestion.
Celeste.
Celeste Berry, you at precinct 1. On the subject of 3 in the EOHLC meeting, I guess I'd like a little bit more information. I read some of the notes. It's been my takeaway for quite a long time that the official position by not being in compliance is that we're not interested in being in compliance. But I'd like to understand if there was a set of criteria to meet that would get us closer to compliance, just to dovetail off of Vice President Swope's statement that she has a set of criteria. So I'd like to know if there were a set of criteria that could be shared broadly. And then I'm a little bit puzzled about the conversation about if we were to conduct a town-wide vote, where that would position us with EOHLC and what level of support they would give that, or additional conversation after that. It's my understanding that the legislation does not permit a referendum vote, does not allow for it. So I guess I'd like a little bit more information on that and understanding on that and what the approach is. Thank you.
Lee, and next.
Lee Foley, precinct 6. I just wanted to advocate for pavement clearing for pedestrians. I feel like car drivers are getting priority for being able to move around town, but like the other day I was driving at Crest Ave Junction and people were let off the bus on the street and they had to walk around the snow mounds and past the cars that were waiting at the light. So especially at bus stops, and just everywhere in general, because people are having to go on the narrow streets.
Steve.
I'd like to just speak.
Steve Rogers, precinct.
Steve Rogers, precinct 1, sorry. I'd like to speak just a minute on the rink being an enterprise fund, because a lot of times it's confusing. There is risk involved because the town owns it, but I'd like to speak about the reward for a minute. If anyone's familiar, I just for my credentials and speaking about it. I spent 6 years as the youth hockey president. I run a scholarship program out of there yearly that raises $9,000 for in the name of Stephen Oconee, who passed away, an officer who passed away on duty with us. And we give $9,000 a year out as high school scholarships. And also I play there nightly, probably 2-3 times a week. The reward, if you look at any rink around here in the region, they are all mostly privately owned and they are not used by the community. The beauty and the reward of our rink is that it is 90% used by this community. 33% of it is renters, 90% of those are from Winthrop. It's used by Winthrop Youth Hockey, who is still an independent, not merged, which is another whole issue. Youth hockey teams tend to merge other communities and stuff. Winthrop is still its own youth hockey association, and the schools also use it. I think the beauty of our rink is that there is risk, but the reward is that, like I said, the community uses it and utilizes it tremendously. And to reduce the risk, it takes good management, and I would just like to give credit to the rink manager, Bob Demento, and also Mr. Lettieri, the president of the council, for their diligence over years of hard work to keep that rink flowing and keep it at a surplus. Thank you.
Tom Darian, Precinct 3 and your beloved tree warden. Last time I stood up and I said, money doesn't grow on trees. And everyone agreed. And I said, money grows trees. And everyone agreed, to the extent that a GoFundMe group of citizens raised enough money that we have some money to plant trees this spring. And that's very much appreciated. We do have some other needs, like we need some money for a watering truck so we can water a tank that we put on the back of a pickup truck, so we can protect our investment. And we might need some muscle as well as to dig some holes to plant these trees if DPW guys are busy doing emergencies. And then we'd like further to apply for a Cool Corridors grant next year that our assistant town manager diligently and professionally applied for with help from our DPW director, Steve Keller, the tree committee and the planning board, and we'd like to be able to apply for that. Again, that was a grant for $100,000. That's bigger than the $3,000 we got. And money grows trees. It doesn't grow on them, it grows them. So I hope we can move forward in that direction.
John.
Hi, John Morgan, Precinct 4. I'd like to comment on Lee's comment. If anyone in the town sees a sidewalk or a crosswalk or any other thing that's not shoveled and it's not town property, call the building inspector. Give them the address, they'll go out, they'll either give them, if they find that it's non-compliant, they'll give them a warning. If it's still not, they'll give them a ticket. But I've run into this a lot of places, and it's very frustrating that homeowners aren't doing their due diligence in shoveling their crosswalk. If they are, they're not wide enough. That's a compliant issue that unfortunately, in my opinion, is not being addressed. If you have a car in the street and that car is blocking traffic in any way, the police are called, the car is ticketed, moved or towed. What about sidewalks? What about private residences?
Is public safety just for the streets? No, public safety is everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mr. Duff.
Mr. President. As far as the $48,000 amount of money that to study, make an engineering plan for Towson and Girls, has that contract been awarded? That's a question that doesn't have to be answered right now, but I'd like to bring it to the surface. Find out about it. As far as the passport agreement, I mentioned it, but it wasn't on the agenda. And I think because I mentioned it, President Lettieri mentioned it after that. It was not on the agreement. If you want to put it on the agenda, I'll put it on the agenda. Thank you. As far as the use of the money, like I said in my first statement, it is going to be the most important business that this town has ever seen. They have billions of dollars. They're giving us a pittance of that billions of dollars. So I'd like to see that happen. As far as the negotiations with Massport, you did mention transparency in your opening statement, transparency. And then you mentioned tonight, because I mentioned it, that there has been ongoing negotiations with a paid consultant. So nobody knows, besides you maybe, or the manager, who is that paid consultant? Why isn't that transparent? Top secret? Why don't the people know who's negotiating a $20 million contract, so to speak? It could be any amount of money. It could be $50 million if you put someone in there that knows what they're doing. You know, billions and billions of dollars. And they're squeezing us, and they bother us to no end. So I don't appreciate you bringing that up in this meeting because it was not on the agenda. Put it on the agenda if you want to talk about it. Thank you.
Online.
Diane Sands?
Hi, it's me. Couple of things. I just, you covered your meeting with Mr. Augustus. Do you have a follow-up date? I understand you made no promises or comments. But you did refer to losing the case or in court several times. And I'm not sure which case that is that we're due to lose. You hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I'm just wondering, is it the case by Andrea Campbell or our exemption case? And since I brought it up, I'm wondering if you would reconsider joining the exemption case, which would make it stronger and give us a possible way out, as I see it's the only one at this point. Also, I just want to say, I think it's best for the community, let what we have, a suit, and I hope it's not personal. If you're not following our exemption case that's already in the courts, are you writing an exemption case from the town of Winthrop? I hope you are. I'd like to know when it's going to be coming out. Couple of just regular comments. I just wanted to comment on this speaking disrespectful to the council issue. I think an honest comment, be it critical, is permissible as long as it's done, professionally without any anger. This is how we run our government, with free speech. Also, I'm kind of curious as to the reason for the seat changes, and I'm on the council and I might have missed the reason. My last thing, I love the rink because I collect signatures there. And I'm now collecting for a person that's running against the Attorney General. See you there. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yes, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron Bursalis, Precinct 5. Just my bi-weekly invite to join us on the bridge on Saturdays, 10 to 12. Everyone's welcome. Come join us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, public relations, still have an opening on the Board of License and Board of Appeals. Motion to adjourn?
May I just, a couple of comments?
Regarding
Just, public
public relations?
Public relations, yeah.
Okay.
I just, again, I direct your attention to Carol Mish's article in the transcript. It's just a clarification of what's going on in terms of the negotiations. It's just a clarification of what the schools want and what the town is asking for. I ask you to take a look at that. I have, the Health Safety Public Works Committee I did put out an agenda for 4 meetings. I know it's unusual, but I thought it might be helpful, and I'm hoping that the town manager will work with me on this, and I think it's going to be clarifying to what actually we do in terms of the town. And finally, the listening post that I have is coming up at the end every Wednesday, the last Wednesday of every month for a few months. And I'm hoping to clarify that in terms of putting together a plan for an envisioning Winthrop for the next 10 years. That would be one segment of that. And then concerns would be another segment, and maybe new ideas would be a third. So I welcome all of you and thank you so much for coming to the last one, and I will always, actually, this time, it will be on Zoom, and I will actually tape that, thank you to Denise Quist, and so you can listen to it later. Thank you so much.
I want to ask for clarification of council rules right now.
This is not the time to ask, right?
Well, I just want to make sure that we're following our charter rules correctly.
We are, and you
For
can
the-
file something after.
Okay, how would I file?
Just call the town clerk tomorrow. And just for clarification, the teachers union is not negotiating with the town, they're negotiating with the schools. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Dimes, second.
Second.
By Councilor Navarro, any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, the ayes have it, meeting is adjourned.